WWE Backlash has come and gone, and it was a great show with a memorable crowd. Probably the best crowd that WWE will have all year for a PLE. Glasgow, Scotland, you're going to need to step it up. Fans in the United States, you're going to have to step it up weekly after what we saw on Saturday afternoon. But it was after the show at the Backlash post-show media scrum with Paul Levesque, Triple H, where the real fireworks went off as Triple H buries Fightful and PWInsider's reporting on the real reason why Drew Gulak was released from the company. Was he released? Or what Triple H stated was the case, was he simply just not renewed? We will talk about it because this served to be a complete shitstorm on social media with Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful, and everybody else chiming in with their opinions. I'm going to give my opinion on it because I found it to be quite laughable, honestly, and we will go over all that is being reported right here on Off the Script. Also, Gable Steveson released from the company as WWE cut ties with the Olympic gold medalist, which now has people asking, is he the biggest disappointment or the biggest flop in WWE history? We will go over that right here as well on Off the Scripts. I want to start out by saying I love where I sit. I love that I'm in the position that I'm in. I love that I don't have to answer to people. This brings me great joy. I can say and do whatever I want as long as I'm within the boundaries of what is correct. Nowadays, with the social media police, I'm not afraid to give my opinion. I am not afraid to let you guys know what it is, what it's not. I love where I sit. People like this, they're in the position that they're in, and that's what they chose. Me, I'm just simply giving my opinion. You can't really chime in here and say, I'm wrong, and this and that's my opinion. I'm going to give it to you as I see it. So I love where I sit, so I don't have to deal with this bullshit when it comes at people like Sapp and everybody else that does the journalism gig on social media. I love where I sit. And right now, a lot of people are arguing back and forth. Who's right, who's wrong, what's correct, what's not. WWE released several talent this past week. Drew Gulak's name apparently was a part of the releases last week. A bunch of NXT Next Generation talent. Most of these talents have not been on television. They are performance-centered talent. The only name that I realized that was on NXT from the list of names was Valentina Feroz. She was on NXT. Daryl Mason, Vlad Pavlenko, Ezekiel Balagun, Kaya Saint, Emma Diaz, Valentina Feroz, Keyshawn LaFleur, Trey Bearhill, and Julian Baldy were all released from WWE. Sean Ross Sapp was the first to report these cuts. So they were all part of this Roku show, Next Generation, Tough Enough, basically. And WWE released all these talent as they probably felt that none of them have what they needed to be a WWE superstar. Now, in the midst of all this, Drew Gulak's name was also a part of the cuts. The company also released or fired Drew Gulak, this is per PWInsider, and was backed up by Fightful Select. Now, according to everybody, because we didn't really know any other information, he was called out by Ronda Rousey for touching the drawstrings on her sweatsuit not too long ago, as Ronda Rousey made this public knowledge. He hadn't appeared on WWE television since Ronda name-dropped him in this negative light, and his absence was explained creatively on TV as he was with Charlie Dempsey. WWE also made several other cuts in April. Cameron Grimes, Xia Li, Zion Quinn, Jinder Mahal, Sangha, Veer, and Von Wagner. So WWE's been in budget cut season. Not really surprising at all. People will get cut when WWE doesn't need them or don't have any creative direction for them. They will cut the baggage and they will apply their efforts to signing who they need to bring back. People that have contracts coming up, as you've seen already this year: Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch. So WWE's putting their efforts into bringing back who they find great value in. Now, as far as Drew Gulak, Backlash Very good show. Loved the show. Memorable show. Fun afternoon. Triple H sits in with the media at the post-show media scrum, and he was asked about Drew Gulak being released from the company and if Ronda Rousey's public accusation towards Drew Gulak was the reason why he was let go. So Triple H says, and I quote, "First of all, if you're going to cite news sources, because this reporter or journalist mentioned the report that Fightful and PWInsider put out about Gulak being released. First of all, if you're going to cite news sources, pick good ones. That's where I would start. Credible, really, maybe. So we release talent all the time. The NFL releases 400 or 500 players a year. We release talent all the time. It's a part of what we do. You just can't hire people, bring them in, keep hiring more people, and just keep bringing them in." Tony. So an unfortunate part of the job is talent gets released. Can I say that he was released? No, he was not released. His contract simply was not renewed. That's all Triple H had stated in regards to Drew Gulak. Now, the question that I have from my point of view is whoever asked this question and referenced Fightful and PWInsider's reports asked this question towards Triple H. Triple H was clearly not going to give the real reason why he was let go or no longer with the company. Why didn't anybody else follow up with a question to ask Triple H, well, Mr. Levesque, what was the real reason then why he is no longer with the company? Does this have to do with Ronda Rousey's public accusations? Was that the straw that broke the camel's back? Why or what is the reason then he was let go? They just left it at that. As long as they got the question and nobody wants to follow up with even more questions. I don't really understand that. Not that Paul Levesque was going to give you a real answer. He's not going to, get his hands dirty with a public investigation and get involved with this situation when WWE launched its own public investigation and he basically just danced around the question. You want to know what happened to Drew Gulak? He wasn't released. He wasn't fired. His contract was simply not renewed. Goodbye. So Sean Ross Sapp goes on social media and everybody's crying. All the Fightful team's crying that this undermines the great work that Fightful does and the lengths that Fightful goes to get these reports and blah, 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 and yada, 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 as if they can't be fucking wrong, as if everything they do is 100% factually correct. I will say this about Fightful. They do great work. I cite Fightful all the time. I regularly use their content to get the news out to you guys and then give my opinion on it. That's basically everybody's content in the community. Who does it better, who does it worse, that's up to you guys, man. Who you like to watch, who you don't like to watch, that's up to you guys. You want to go find a boring creator, go watch a boring creator. We don't do that over here. But the thing is, everybody uses PWInsider and Fightful, and more so, they are using these two publications more so than the Wrestling Observer or anybody else that is a not known journalist or dirt sheet or source in the community. A lot of these new sources are popping up on X and they have breaking news and they lock their account because they don't want anybody stealing their shit, or things are locked behind a Patreon paywall. Whatever the case may be, Fightful does great work. Most of the time their work is great. I don't understand what all of the belly aching was about on social media. They got the report wrong. Triple H, it might not have come off the way that Fightful wanted, and Triple H was probably overly aggressive with the way he said what he said, but Fightful got it wrong. I don't understand what the problem is when I read right on Fightful's website, Drew Gulak was released. This was backed up by sources that they had to follow up on the report that PWInsider originally put out. Drew Gulak was released. Triple H then said he wasn't released. We simply did not offer him a new contract. His contract wasn't renewed. His contract is up next month. Everybody's complaining about Fightful, and Sean Ross Sapp is going to war on social media with WWE and all these people online dragging Fightful's name through the mud. Then he says WWE PR spoke to him personally, privately, not publicly, because they would never do that, personally and privately, and issued apologies. Of course they did. They're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. Paul Levesque doesn't give a fuck about a Fightful. Paul Levesque doesn't give a shit about a PWInsider. He doesn't give a shit about these dirt sheets. Why would he? The previous administration didn't give a shit about these dirt sheets. Why do you think that mentality in this new era would somehow change because Triple H is more in tune with the audience than Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and Bruce Pritchard were? Doesn't work that way. That mentality is always going to remain. I don't know why you would think that the company all of a sudden cares about what we do as creators and what we do as journalists, or in this case, Sapp, or Mike Johnson, or whoever else is in that field. Why do you think they would care about you now? All of a sudden, they don't. They don't want you. They don't need you. They would rather you not even fucking exist, to be quite honest with you. All these journalists and media outlets, all they do is serve to be a headache for WWE. They never liked that part of the wrestling aspect, the media. Now it's gotten to a point where WWE invites nothing but marks to their show. People with fucking sub 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, no platform, no influence whatsoever, so that they could come off as media friendly now. They're not media friendly. They're not. Was Triple H overly aggressive in his response? Maybe. Was Sean Ross Sapp on social media defending Fightful? He has every right to do that. But I never seen in any instance that he was wrong. I read on Fightful that Drew Gulak was released. Now we're hearing that he's not. His contract was simply not renewed. So after all this, Fightful comes out with another report, which then we get the real reason why Drew Gulak was released. So Sean Ross Sapp and Corey Brennan follow up with a report that confirmed with multiple NXT sources that Gulak is actually still with the company. So you were wrong. Triple H was right. The way he handled it and the way he was overly aggressive could have been changed. But he was right, and you guys were wrong. But was informed he would not be brought back once his deal expires next month. Gulak was informed of this personally. In regards to the recent claims of sexual misconduct made by Ronda Rousey, Corey Brennan is told that this initiated an investigation by WWE into the incident and Gulak as a whole. From those we spoke to in NXT, the belief is that Gulak's public response to Ronda Rousey's claim only made things worse for Gulak, but was not the determining factor in the decision to not bring him back. Of course it wasn't. They don't want that being the reason because of what's going on publicly with Vince McMahon. So the company is going to find any other reason of bad behavior backstage and then look at the Ronda Rousey situation as the straw that broke the camel's back to simply cut ties with him. Your behavior was the reason we're not bringing you back. And the Ronda Rousey accusations, they're going to try and fucking dance around that any time they get. But that's the reason that they will quietly say, you know what, that's enough, man. I think we're done with Gulak. But we're going to run with this as the reason why he's not being brought back. That's all that is. They don't want that being the reason because of everything else that's going on and the perception right now within the company. In asking around with talent in NXT, several talent made claims to Corey Brennan of Fightful that Gulak was a bully who would often target injuries during matches with talent that were recovering from minor injuries at the time. One talent claimed that during a match with Gulak, Gulak would purposefully re-dislocate a previously dislocated finger, while another claimed that Gulak would intimidate talent into not reporting these incidents. Fightful also learned of an incident during an NXT taping last year where Gulak was verbally reprimanded by Shawn Michaels and NXT coaches for intentionally spiking an opponent during a match. One NXT talent who worked with Gulak noted that he was odd in the sense that he would often test talent to see if they would react to his bullying. In regards to the Triple H comments, Fightful said they would provide as much transparency as possible. It was reiterated to us by WWE and Triple H that the comments weren't intended to be directed at Fightful, sounded very direct to me, or PWInsider. Whether anyone chooses to believe that is up to them, but Fightful received numerous apologies. We were told Triple H's particular issue was that Ronda Rousey's accusations of Gulak grabbing her sweatpants were not the contributing factor to Gulak's departure. Like I said, all the reasons that I just read to you from this report are the reasons for them not wanting to work with him, and the Ronda Rousey situation is basically the straw that broke the camel's back. All right, man, we got enough. We'll use this as the excuse to get rid of him. The Ronda Rousey situation was basically the end of the line. Goodbye. They're not going to make that public knowledge. That will hopefully sit and disappear quietly. So they're going to run with the odd behavior and the mistreatment of young talent by Drew Gulak is the reason why he's not there. So Gulak apparently is still with WWE and was informed that his WWE deal would not be renewed despite him wishing to remain with the company. A complete shit show. This was a complete and utter shit show. Gulak, again, I have to reiterate, I don't know why a follow-up question wasn't asked to Paul Levesque as far as, well, do you mind telling us the reason why he is not being brought back? I mean, is the Ronda Rousey situation the reason why he's not being brought back? I don't know why nobody wanted to follow up with a line of questioning and continue to push. Not that Triple H would give you an answer. I don't think he would. But nobody followed up with a question. Now, this odd behavior with Drew Gulak backstage, I don't know, where is management in this situation? Why is Gulak taking free liberty with young talent? As Fightful reports, one talent basically claimed he was a bully and would often target injuries during matches with talent that were recovering from minor injuries at the time. Did nobody speak up about this at the time that it happened? Why? I don't really understand that. If this guy did something wrong in that moment, in that time, why wasn't this brought to management then? Then the question is, and it all goes back to the behavioral mentality in WWE, that the environment, the culture in WWE has not changed. It all starts at the top. I don't know why the talent is able to get away with this and management and the people in charge don't know about it. Why would they allow him to go out there? He should have been reprimanded then. Why are we hearing about it now? It's very weird to me. And then the discussion gets started up, well, the WWE culture and the environment of WWE will never change, no matter who's in charge. It's reasons like this that people will have that perception of WWE if things not changing. It all falls on management. It all starts at the top. Why was this guy allowed to do what he did to young talent? And now it's being brought up as the reason why he's not being brought back. He should have been fined. He should have been suspended. He should have been reprimanded in some way for the behavior issues. I don't get it. But at the end of the day, Fightful and PWInsider were wrong because it said released. Triple H, no matter his tone or his verbiage towards Fightful and PWInsider, basically said that they were wrong. He wasn't released. He wasn't fired. We're simply not renewing his contract. He's still with the company, and we're letting it expire. Which means if Gulak is able to find work, which at this point I think is going to be a very difficult thing to do, he's got no 90-day attachment to that or NXT attachment, 30 days. He can find work immediately. They were wrong. Meanwhile, in my eyes, from what I saw, Sapp embarrassed himself and embarrassed Fightful. In no instance did I say, hey guys, we got this one wrong. We're batting 9 out of 10. We got the best average in all the league. We got this one wrong. Sorry, we'll do better next time. We'll back it up not twice, but quadruple the amount of times to get the report that you guys deserve, that you're paying for. They were wrong. Triple H called them out on it, and then nobody wants to admit that Fightful was wrong. Released and fired have a completely different meaning and terminology as to what Triple H said. We simply did not bring him back. His contract not being renewed doesn't mean he was released or fired. Any more questions? People got to do better, man. I know everybody's got a big ego. I get it. Admit you're wrong. When you're wrong, admit you're wrong. It's not that difficult to do. Gable Steveson. He was released from WWE along with all of the other names, which this name was actually a surprising name in the list of releases. WWE's parted way with Olympian Gable Steveson 3 years after the gold medalist signed with WWE. Steveson, who captured gold in the Tokyo Summer Games of 2021, signed with WWE that same year and was drafted to Raw near the end of the year. Never showcased on the show. They merely used it as, hey, man, we got this next Kurt Angle coming to WWE. Sure thing. His release was first reported by The Observer and Dave Meltzer and is said to be part of the recent cuts to the NXT roster. Stevenson's career in WWE had a shaky start after initial reports stated that he had not shown the level of improvement at the Performance Center that the higher-ups hoped to see. His debut match came at NXT Great American Bash in 2023 and saw Gable Steveson have a count-out draw with Baron Corbin, where Corbin ended up being the babyface and Steveson was booed out of the building, obviously for reasons. Following this, he completed at NXT Live Event, or competed rather, at NXT Live Events, as well as in dark matches before SmackDown to maybe get his feet wet with coming up to the main roster. With Stevenson's career over, questions remain as to his future with the Olympics. Steveson recently qualified for Team USA, but it was reported that he wouldn't be competing due to his WWE commitments. Now, it remains to be seen if Steveson will pursue the upcoming games in Paris now that he has been released. Dave Meltzer on Gable Steveson being released says this: the timing of the cut is especially cruel because had it been a few weeks earlier, he could have competed in the Olympic trials, which based on his 2023 performance, he would have been the heavy favorite. He would have been a favorite for either a gold or silver medal in the Olympics this summer had he done so, but it's too late to make Team USA as Mason Parris will now be the heavyweight in place of Gable Steveson. WWE, they made a big deal about Gable Steveson, and the first mistake that they always make, and I've seen this with a couple of the ladies too, oh, this one's the next Mercedes or Sasha, or this is the next Charlotte. Gable Stevenson's the next Kurt Angle. Parker Boudreaux is the next Brock Lesnar, Mini Lesnar, Baby Lesnar. When you start putting labels on someone being the next this one or the next that one, their career is doomed to fail. You're never going to find another Brock Lesnar, ever. You're never going to find another Kurt Angle. You're never going to find another John Cena. You're never going to find another Steve Austin. You're never going to find another Charlotte. You're never going to find another Mercedes or Sasha Banks. You're never going to find any of these women or men and replicate what you had with them. So you already got this guy's career off to the wrong start. So that's number one. Number two, the allegations that he had back in college or whenever it was. I don't know the exact time frame, but the guy was accused of rape. Now, it went with an investigation and they didn't really find anything or it got thrown out. But do you think that stigma is going to just disappear for Gable Steveson? Once you have that term applied to who you are, you're never going to be able to wipe it clean. So no matter where he went, whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, no matter if they hid him in NXT for longer than they wanted, and eventually when they brought him to television, he was always going to have that negative stigma around him. NXT onto the main roster, he would never be able to shake it. It would define his entire career. So he was never going to be a success just based off that. This is why I find it funny when people think that the Velveteen Dream is going to come back. Would I personally give Patrick Clark another opportunity? Sure. Do I hope he redeems himself? Sure. Do I hope he's a better person? Yes, I do. But do you think WWE in this day and age, with what they're going through now with Vince, is going to bring back Patrick Clark? Don't know why you would think they would keep Gable Steveson on the roster with his background. Ari Emanuel ain't fucking around. They used, oh, he's not getting better. Oh, he's not progressing the way we want as the reason why they let him go. They're not going to publicly state, yeah, we're letting him go because this new administration, TKO management, are ridding everybody with that type of background. We want nothing to do with anyone that has any accusations like that brought upon them. They're never going to admit that. They're going to cite, yeah, the guy's not progressing enough. We're not seeing what we want. They're not going to outwardly say, yeah, the guy's accused of rape. Let's get rid of him. They don't want that in the headlines. They don't want that for them. They don't want that for him. So they got rid of him because he wasn't performing. Now, the NXT match with Baron Corbin, I mean, I remember it. I remember it vividly. Baron Corbin's been doing great work down there. Baron Corbin went into that as a heel. They used Baron Corbin to try and get the young kid over. It actually worked in the opposite way. Gable Steveson couldn't sell. Gable Steveson has the charisma of a broomstick. He didn't play into the heel heat. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing out there. Baron Corbin led that entire match, and it ended up being a fucking shit show. Why would anybody want to see him after that terrible performance? Baron Corbin went into that as a heel, and he walked out a babyface because the fans knew Gable Stevenson's background and did not want to cheer this Olympic USA gold medalist. If you have the background of competing for your country in your sport, in your genre, and you prove to be the very best that the company or the country has, and then you don't get cheered for that, it's a problem. Exactly why I said the rape allegations and accusations will follow him no matter where he goes. Again, Gable Steveson had the charisma of a fucking broomstick. I mean, at this point, you gotta know that Triple H and WWE are heartbroken over the fact that they put so much effort and resources and went to lengths to get this kid over, and it didn't materialize the way that they want. Triple H wanted to put this guy over. It was public knowledge that if Triple H didn't have the heart attack, that he would have put Gable Steveson over in a major angle at WrestleMania. And the only reason why that didn't happen is because Triple H now was taken off of TV in an on-air, active in-ring role. Now he is in the position that he's in now. At the end of the day, Gable Steveson, we don't know where his heart was. He didn't put the effort in. It didn't show. Maybe his heart was not in pro wrestling. He wanted to give it a shot. He thought it would be an easy transition, and it didn't work out. Maybe his heart was still with the Olympics and wrestling, amateur wrestling. I mean, I imagine he's going to go back to training for future Olympic Games. I imagine he's going to continue doing what he's doing. Nobody really gave a shit or knew who Gable Steveson was outside that. Nobody knew who he was. Yet we're labeling, the next Kurt Angle. This should be an indication to WWE that you could take someone like this in the same field that Kurt Angle came from, the same background as Kurt Angle from. This should prove to WWE that no matter how great your personal accolades are in the sport that you came from previously, coming into WWE, this should be an indication that not everybody is going to be able to cut it as an entertainer. WWE is the biggest game in town. Not only do you need to know how to wrestle, which is on the lower end of things, WWE requires you to have a personality. WWE requires you to feel the audience, be in sync with the audience, give the audience something that they are willingly want to invest their time in. You need to get the audience to invest their time and money into you. WWE requires you to be charismatic and give us a reason to care. Gable Steveson clearly checked off 0 of those boxes. So this should prove to be an indication that no matter what WWE wants to do and go out and get this Olympic athlete and go out and get this unbelievable superstar from basketball and football, that all that they think is not going to come to fruition. All because you're great at what you do doesn't mean you're going to translate to WWE. You sign 20 fucking people that are megastars from their previous sport or previous genre. You maybe get one or two that break out and actually make it past the Performance Center trials. Not everybody is cut out for this, man. Not everybody's cut out for this. Seriously. His legit credentials meant shit because he couldn't cut it in WWE as a performer. Anyway, guys, we will continue to talk about this. I'm sure Jason and I, the Silent Monster and I, will talk about this on Tuesday Night Titans. I know Jason said that Gable Steveson was one of the biggest, if not the biggest flop in WWE history. I will come with some names, and we will throw some names at Jason on Tuesday, and we will get his opinion on why Gable Steveson is the biggest flop in all of WWE history. But I thank you guys for joining me on this episode of Off the Script. Lots to do today. I wanted to get this video out this weekend, but I couldn't due to prior engagements with House of Glory, and then obviously Backlash. I needed some time for myself. So hopefully you guys enjoy this today. If you did, please hit that thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. If you missed any Backlash coverage or any coverage last week, everything you need is on the homepage. Go and check it out. And please make sure you guys join us for the Monday Night Raw review tonight. Tonight starts the King of the Ring tournament, man. Should be a damn good show. Until then, I'll see you right back here live with the Monday Night Raw review on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.